Waini. Hello, lovely people. Welcome to another edition of the only live podcast based in China. Join with us is our special guest, and as you know, every week we bring special guests who come to share their story and experience with you. A podcast that believes in the power of story sharing to impact lives and change lives. Join with us is our special guest, Ben. He is a teacher. He teaches Tao. And I just met him few hours ago because he commented in one of my videos. And I was so surprised. He has never been to China, but he loves several things about China. And you could see on his cap in Chinese characters is written "Wo Ai Ni." That is so interesting. I'm in China, but I don't even have anything like this. Wow. And I couldn't wait than to know his story and everything. Welcome, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me. And I think it's just a lot of fun to exchange cultures. And I grew up in an area where there has been a long history of Chinese immigrants, and so
Yes.
it was just a normal part of our lives. I grew up in a place called Auburn, California, which was
Yeah.
part of the Gold Rush area in California, just part of Californian history. And there was lots of Chinese immigrants that came over to mine gold and
Yes.
also build railroads. So I actually
Okay.
grew up. I used to walk to the Chinese cemetery where there was where they buried the workers, and
Yes.
and also my kindergarten teacher was married to a Chinese woman, and she used to assist all the time in the classroom. It was a lot of fun. My
Yeah.
wife is half Chinese, uh, half Filipino. She's from the Philippines, and
Yes.
I just found Chinese culture very appealing because there's just a lot of stuff that Western culture has changed so fast. 100 years ago, my grandpa was not doing what I'm doing now, and just to
Yes.
have access to some older culture of how humans lived, 5,000, 2,000 years ago, it's very important. There's a lot we've missed. There's a lot we've lost, and
Wow.
I'm just yeah thrilled to share it.
Wow,
um,
interesting. Just to let my viewers who be watching to know that we just met 2 hours ago and we are having this live. Wow. Thank you
yeah.
very much for honoring this invite. And I know I'll really enjoy this conversation. So, who is Ben actually? Before we even talk about your story, who is Ben?
So I'm just a guy. I don't really do anything special. I just do. My wife is a high school teacher, and she supports me. And I don't have a job, but she supports me, and I teach people full time by just kind of like being their friends, and then just slipping in little things about how to make life more harmonious. Uh, uh, I
Yes.
guess you could say my ultimate goal is to have a Earth as a home that's shared by all, right? So
Yes.
you wouldn't need locks on the doors. Criminals wouldn't exist. Everyone would love each other, and if they needed help, they would get help. It's just you know just we're creating the sensation of separation between cultures and between people, and really we're all the same. I mean, we're, and that's what I learned
Wow.
through meeting Chinese people. Is that wow, they care about the same exact things. They're having the same exact experience of life. They get old, they die, they get sick. There's very little difference,
Same
honestly.
thing.
Very little
Yeah.
difference. But and growing up in a Western household, I was not exposed to that. Other cultures were usually contextualized, usually taught as like different or the enemy even, and
Yes.
the only way I was able to break out of that is through kind and loving Chinese people that came here and taught me different. So
Wow, that's interesting. I'm so curious to know about uh growing up when you were very young. What did you know about the other cultures, especially Chinese cultures growing up?
most of my exposure to Chinese culture early on was through the Disney movie Mulan, which is about China. I don't know
Oh,
how accurate it is, but I enjoyed it a lot. And there was a scene in, I think it was Mulan 2, where she was teaching children about how, bamboo waves in the wind and it doesn't break. It's strong because it
yeah.
bends, right? Which is a good analogy for how you can live your life. You don't have to be so rigid and fight everything. You can bend a little bit. So and that one little thing just made, as part of a cartoon, made a big impact on me. And the rest of my exposure to Chinese
Yes.
culture, probably very early on, was just racist stuff, like people not liking Chinese people, and as racism is taught, I wasn't racist as a little kid, and I was just curious
Yes.
why, and so it made me learn a little bit more about him. So, you know,
Wow. This has
yeah.
reminded me. I started my YouTube channel last year to educate the world and entertain the world about China and their culture.
Hmm.
And most people I get most comment from, especially Americans, they always say this guy is paid to do propaganda and stuff. So I usually find it.
I lost you for a second there.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, we probably need to restart. So you
Oh,
find it very they thought you were a
strange.
propagandist, right? Yeah, very
Yeah.
strange.
So I find it strange why it's like that. So you've been an American. Why do you think it's like that, even us at this time?
So I think part of the I don't even know if it's a misconception. For all I know, it could be true. A lot of Americans
Yeah.
think that Chinese people are paid to do negative things on the internet, or like teach Chinese propaganda. And I've heard the term 50 Cent Army. I don't know if that means anything to you, but
Yeah.
yeah, like, so the narrative is that the CCP, who Americans don't like, I don't care, whatever, are paying Chinese people to make negative comments, or maybe do something like what you're doing. It would be cool if they were paying you. Yeah, if you're getting paid, I'm fine with that. But that's just the conception. That's what a lot of people think, and it's. I don't really get into politics because I don't know either way. Uh,
Yeah.
at a certain point, we have to admit that we have to discover that we don't know. We have to know that we don't know, and until you recognize that you could be wrong, then you're just believing what other people tell you, right? I mean, I don't know anyone in the
Wow.
CCP. How
Yeah.
would I know?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
so just everyone thinks they know something is basically what it is, and it could be true for all I know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Interesting. You mentioned curiosity made you learn more about the Chinese culture and several stuff. I personally, growing up, I love Chinese movies so much. I
mm.
couldn't understand why you can use chopsticks to eat tiny rice. So
Yeah.
that really, I also had that curiosity. What are some of the things that really made you curious about Chinese culture?
There was just it was very mysterious to me, and I don't know. It was just well, I can tell you when I was maybe 10 years old, uh,
Yes.
my father's best friend found a wife in China, and they
Yeah.
fell in love, and then they came over here. Her name was Ying Ying. She has an American name. I just call her Ying Ying. But
Yeah.
she was the hardest worker I ever met. She taught herself English in like a year, and I
Wow.
wouldn't be able to learn Chinese in 10 years. So very impressive. And she was a
Yeah.
surgical nurse in China doing brain surgeries in China, and then she came
Yeah.
over here and then became a nurse in America. So she had to start from scratch. She had to start from square one, and
Yeah.
she taught herself all that in just a 3-4 years. It
Short
was very
time.
impressive.
Yeah.
And it was the same time when I was starting to think about college and starting to prepare for college, and she really inspired me, and and just everything about the culture. When she first met us, she came to our house and she gave us tea as a gift, and I'm told that's a common gift to give is tea.
Yes.
And I thought it was so neat, and she was just so polite, and she wouldn't point at things. She would just offer her hand like this, like she just tons of this Chinese etiquette that I had no idea about, but it just came off as very just mysterious, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. And so I was very naive at the time. I didn't know how difficult this would be, but at 10 years old,
Yes.
I would have a Chinese book, so the like Chinese for Dummies, that would just teach me some random phrases or whatever. And
Oh,
I know
really?
that's not a good start. But the Yin Yang would be in the library studying, for as long as the library was open, and I lived by the library. I'd walk over and read the Chinese for Dummies next to her. It was fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she had a son that came over from China, and we were really good friends, and
Yes.
so I just had a lot of opportunities to recognize Chinese people as people, and
Yeah.
in retrospect now, some of my best friends are Chinese, and some of them don't even speak English that well. I mean, we still,
Yes.
we drink tea and watch movies. What more do you need? We don't need to talk philosophy or anything, you know.
Yes.
But just the way I've been treated by some of these people
Yes.
is just very impressive. And I don't know if it was because I was under the context of meeting them through a Tao temple because they're practicing to be really nice. But
Yeah.
it was just, it's just cool. It's would be analogous to maybe discovering Christianity and finding that everyone there is like working to love each other. It's very similar situation, and I know all cultures have those things. It's just
Yeah.
that that's what I found. So nothing really, nothing super special about it, but it's special to me.
Wow, interesting. To our viewers who are watching live, we are joined with our special guest, Ben. He is sharing his story about how he has come a long way to be teaching Tao and with his interaction with Chinese people. And he has never been to China before. That's very, should I say, strange or amazing?
Yeah,
Yeah. You mentioned they made you feel really nice. Are you saying in US you don't feel really nice, or I don't get it? What do you mean by that
yeah.
really nice?
So there is everyone just in life in general. They
Yes.
wear a mask. They're playing a character, right? And
Yes.
they want you to see them the way they want you to see them, right? So
Yes.
they want you to believe the character they're playing, right? And something that
Yes.
is unique about or not unique. I mean, there's lots of Eastern traditions that teach this, but just about being sincere always, right? Like it's always a mistake to lie. It's always a mistake to pretend. It's always a mistake to play these characters, and maybe mistake's the
Yes.
wrong word, right? But just a recognition that you want acceptance. For example, a lot of people are nice because they want acceptance, and
Yes.
that's the only thing I encountered my entire life, and I was doing it myself until I discovered people in this Tao temple who were the first sincere people I've ever met, and just shocked me. I didn't know how to read them. I didn't know how to understand them, and it was just my first instinct was just like I have to learn from these people,
Yeah.
and I just dove in. At the time, I was staying with my my parents, just visiting them over the summer for a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
we went over to San Francisco. Our temple is about 2 blocks away from Golden Gate Park, so it's a very beautiful place. There's like these
Yeah.
beautiful gardens right there. You can walk there from the temple, and it was just an awesome experience with these people trying to teach me these principles from 2,000 years ago or whatever. And
Yeah.
like I said, I was hooked. And then I still live in Las Vegas, but I would,
Yes.
every couple months I would drive 8 hours there and 8 hours back just to,
Wow.
learn from them a little bit
Learn.
more. And
Yeah.
I figured out how to teach myself. They gave me that tool. They teach me how to teach myself. and now I don't need their help as much. And now I'm teaching it on my own in Las Vegas, a place where
Yes.
there's a lot of disharmony. This is, people, like, for example, right from the very balcony that I'm sitting on a balcony, like
Yes.
right there where I'm pointing, I saw people shooting at each other and
Oh,
trying to kill each other with guns, because there's a lot of guns in America. And
yeah.
yeah, and I'm right where I want to be. I'm right where people might need me, for,
Causing,
because
yeah.
it breaks my heart. I have a lot of compassion for those people. I don't see them as enemies. I don't see them as
Yeah.
criminals. I mean, they are technically criminals, but I don't see them as evil. I see them
Yeah.
as stuck in like the river of causality, right? Cause and effect,
Yes.
and when we give up on people like that, we're hurting society.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how do you stop hate? With love. You're not going to punishing them is not going to fix it. you know
Yeah.
but yeah, punishing them, it doesn't work. I mean, how long have we tried that? All of human history. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I
So
I can feel you have that passion for love, harmony, and peace. Interesting.
exactly. Yeah.
So at what point you came in contact with Chinese? You said at the age of 10. At what point did you think of, now I should go into learn the theories, principles of Taoism?
It was really just the specific technique that my temple uses. And I understand if people don't like this type of Dao, or
Yeah.
this group of Dao, but it's called Equan Dao, which I'm messing up your beautiful language, but
It's
Yiguan
okay.
Dao, like, it means the persistent way. And
Yes.
they formed partially during the occupation of China, like by the Japanese.
Yes.
And there was a lot of Christian missionaries in the area at the time, and these Taoists saw how the Christians were actively trying to spread harmony and
Yes.
love and stuff like that at the time, and just helping people, like orphanages and stuff like that. And they found it very inspiring. So they copied what Christians do, where they actively try to spread Christianity. So
Yes.
so these people ambushed me. They invited me over for dinner, and then they basically ambushed me with just like, Ben, like, there's bad decisions being made, like life could be better, like,
Yeah.
and we focus on acceptance, right? And everyone's fighting life. So and they weren't telling me to believe anything specific. Like,
Yes.
there's mythology, there's rituals and stuff like that, but that's not the important part. Those help. Those are tools. What's
Yes.
important is that you accept life, because we can use the analogy of a river, right? Imagine everyone's in a river and the current's very, very strong. There's nothing you can do to fight against it.
Yes.
Everyone tells themselves they can fight the current, and then they spend all their lives paddling against the current. They end up in the same exact place.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between someone who lets the current take them and someone who fights the current? Just whether or not they enjoyed life. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I've found drinking tea very therapeutic. I've mentioned tea before, but I just,
Yeah.
it just helps you think about harmony, and just like, I could, whenever you get upset, like, you just think, I could be peaceful right now. I could let go right now. And what does letting go look like? When you get disturbed, when something really bothers you, you watch it and you just relax through it. You just let it happen. You don't have to
Yeah.
you don't have to play into the emotions. You don't have to fight anything. It comes and it goes, like weather, right? So or like the tides.
Wow.
There's even cycles to it, right? But anyway, point being is that these ancient masters, they figured out something that, and I'm a personal testament that they figured out something, right? Because
Yes.
I used to be a very tortured person. I had panic attacks that would last,
Mm.
off and on all day, and I had to drop out of college because of it. I
Oh,
wasn't able to get a job. I wasn't able to get a job because of it. I was just working like small part-time jobs, because if I had a panic attack at work, I would lose my job.
yeah.
But lots of bosses were very forgiving with that. But the point is that I wasn't a reliable worker. I wasn't a reliable partner for my now wife, but she
Yeah.
supported me through all of that. I received a lot of love to get where I am now, and it's just kind of like how Christians they use the term testimony, right? Where like
Yes.
I went to this church and yeah, testimony. They taught me something
Testimonial.
that
Yeah.
worked, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a testimonial that letting go of what's worrying you, like, and some people would contextualize this as like, oh, you're giving up on your dreams, right? Well,
Yeah.
the dreams are the cause of the suffering. If you can't satisfy your dreams, then they're just causing you suffering, right?
It's
Which
true.
brings us
Yeah.
to yeah, brings us to a very important point, which is just a paraphrasing of the Four Noble Truths from Buddhism, right? Which is an
Yeah.
acknowledgement that suffering comes from wanting things or not wanting things. And it's so
Exactly.
backwards to how most humans think, because they think like, oh, the reason I'm suffering is because I don't have what I want. I better go
Yeah.
get what I want. We've never worked. Very few people ever discover that you can work backwards and work at the root of the problem, which is the desires or the wants or not wants. And it's just
Wow.
an incredible discovery, incredible discovery. And I spent a lot of time figuring out clever ways of sneaking it in, and because if you just directly confront people the way I was directly confronted, it doesn't work that often. It's a miracle it worked for me.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of subtleness. There's a lot of games I have to play, but oh, it's just so much fun. I love it.
Wow. Before I
Yeah.
even ask questions about the principles of Taoism, I'm sure you grew up as a Christian, right?
Yes, a Catholic.
Yeah. Yeah. A Catholic. Oh, wow. So I
Yeah.
know the Catholic teaches about this harmony, peace, and what makes Taoism different for you as you growing up as a Christian?
So I would say that Christianity and Taoism are actually very compatible because the Tao is universal. And you can deepen your Christianity if you choose to with principles from the Tao. Everyone is living everyone is living consistent with the Tao. It's just whether or
Yeah.
not they understand it or not. And if you understand it, you can work with it instead of against it, and it's all very natural. And there's an important chapter in the Tao Te Ching, which I think it might even be the first chapter, that says that the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. So there's actually, I'm doing something very goofy here, where I'm trying to describe the indescribable, and this is an introspective practice, right? Where
Yeah.
if I tell you something, you just have to take my word for it until you take a step inwards and check for yourself. And that's the most important part, is that it's if you take that inward journey, there's some cool things you can discover, and you can use other people's words as a guide. But
Yeah.
anyone you're taking your if you take anyone's word for it, you're just they found it through introspection, right? You can have all the insights that Buddha had. You can have all the insights that Lao Tzu had, right? And they can help you to get there. And it's just about just being very honest with yourself. A lot of people get caught up on the pain of introspection. They see something they
Yeah.
don't like in their self-image, and they push it away. They push it away. Well, that principle of pushing away things that feel bad, is what forms basic. They call them samskaras in Buddhism or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they're
Before you
mental formation. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, before you even continue, you mentioned the Tao that can be spoken. It's not real Tao. Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm just quoting a book. I mean, the ancient masters figured it out for me, so
Yeah.
I have nothing original to say. So,
Yeah.
and so yeah, when we push away bad feelings, and you can see it this way: we're like programming our brain to hurt over those events. For example, if your ex-girlfriend drove a blue car, every time you see that same blue car, like one just like it, you'll be reminded of her, and then you'll suffer a little bit because you
Yes.
never accepted the events, right? Well,
Yeah.
it's all about inverting the principle of how we normally live our lives. Instead of pushing away what hurts us, let it flow right through you. So imagine an analogy where there's a stream, and every samskara, every mental formation, everything you tell yourself about how things are good or bad, if you
Yes.
make that distinction, good or bad, then they act as like rocks in the stream, and they create turbulence, and then they mess up the flow, and then and you can remove those rocks
Yes.
through introspection and letting go. You introspect to see what hurts you, and then you let go of what hurts you by just letting the pain flow right through you. You might have to do this a million times, you might have to do it once. It's just a practice that you do every day. Like the name of Equan Dao, the persistent way, right? You never give up. You just one more, one more, one more.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you do that process long enough, the stream will be very clear and will be very still, and it'll flow very, very gently and peacefully. And when the water is very, very still, the stiller
Yeah.
it gets, the better you can see your own reflection in the water, right? So it's a really
Yes.
good analogy because there's obstacles to realizing what it's like to be you, right? And
Yes.
there's some deeper insights in these Eastern traditions that I find extremely compelling. And I just did what they asked sincerely, all in for like 2 years, and
Yes.
it worked. And the problem is that there's very few clear teachings, because like I said, like the Tao that can be
Everybody's.
spoken is not the true Tao. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
And just yeah, go on.
Wow. So, what is the main principle about Taoism? For I personally, I don't know much. I know it's a way of life. And
Hmm.
previously, I thought it was a religion. What is it mainly about, Tao? Hello.
Sorry, you said what is its main what? You cut out for a
Its
second there.
main principle is what is it mainly about, Tao?
So it's mainly about studying these two primary books, the Tao Te Ching and the I'm going to mess this up. I've never said it out loud, but the Zongxi, I think.
Yeah.
But it's about studying these books, and just trying to, through these poems, try to figure out what these old guys understood. And I could
Yeah.
get into the specifics, I could get into the philosophy, but this is a personal journey, and my understanding is going to be different from your understanding. But some basic stuff, some entry level stuff, is that you
Yes.
could say like the Tao is like like a material before material is created. It's like the Tao is analogous to the ocean, and then things that exist are analogous to waves on the ocean. So
Yes.
everything is Tao. Everything is connected. Everything is the same substance. It's just manifesting itself through duality, through light and dark, and good and bad, and and the illusion of separateness is part of our human perception. Is really how I'd keep it super, super, super basic. And
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a deeply religious side to this. There's a deeply mystical side to this, and
Yeah.
rituals, lots of rituals too, because every culture tried to understand it their own way, and they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
In, in a strange way, everyone was right. But I was taught a lot of science in school, so I understand it from like a neuroscience perspective. But that's just another story I'm telling myself, right?
Yeah.
So so it's
Interesting.
just an
Yeah.
yeah.
So you
Yeah.
personally, after I don't know how long you have learned Tao, how has
Mhm.
Tao impacted your life?
So I used to argue with my partner, for example, right? And it used to be very childish stuff, just like, oh, you didn't do this on time, or you forgot to do this chore, and just like little things like that. But uh, one of the main things we try to keep in mind, at my temple at least, is that we're all very childish. Is that in a way we never grew up, that we stayed children, and we have several reminders of that, ritual reminders that we're all children, to
Yeah.
try to come back to a peaceful place, and just in a way not take yourself seriously, because if I argue with my wife right now, I'm sure I could think of something, I argue with my wife, it's like throwing a tantrum, just like children do, like 2-year-olds do.
Yes.
And even when things escalate to violence, or like you know, larger conflicts, like even war, it's just
Yeah.
it's a very immature thing to do, and that doesn't mean you have to try to be mature. You know, that's that's kind of forcing the issue, but it's just an acknowledgement
Yes.
that you're childish, and it's a very powerful thing, because everyone plays their own games. They forget they're playing a game, and
Yes.
yeah, it's just a beautiful insight, and I could brag all day about positions I've been in, just cool things I got to see, people I got to meet. But the point is that it's I don't have a
It's
point. The
just
point,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's just that life is, would you rather be in the vacuum of space? This is the most interesting place ever.
You are
How could you
probably.
not appreciate it? It's a very sweet life. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna die. Yeah, we're gonna get old. Yeah, we're gonna suffer. Or suffering is optional, actually. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to be in a lot of pain, right? Suffering, good way to encapsulate the four noble truths, at least some of them, is that
Yeah.
suffering is pain, plus by avoiding the pain, you suffer over it. And you have all the evidence in your own life. Everyone listening to this has all the evidence in their own life to figure that out.
Yes.
You've lived enough life. You can see that, and
Yes.
yeah. So basically, just being able to just accept what's happening is a profound tool. Just unbelievable. You do that enough times, and you'll just be able to
Yeah.
lay in bed and just feel just like waves of satisfaction throughout your body. Just laying in bed doing nothing. Why? Because you're just enveloped in the beauty and love of Tao, of just
Yeah.
the yeah. I mean, it's gonna be hard.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Interesting. To our viewers who are watching live, Ben is sharing his experience and story with us with Tao and Chinese culture. When you were talking about suffering, it reminded me of a book I read, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I don't know if you have
Oh
read that
yeah,
book.
I'll have to.
And
I'll read it now.
man, that book changed my life. That book
Beautiful.
helped me understood the concept of suffering. That suffering is part of our lives. We should expect suffering, and we trying to avoid suffering causes more pain and suffering to us. So
Yeah,
that book really helped me. I felt like I was out of prison. After reading that book, I was like, wow, I have been in prison with fear, so many material things and things to think about. And
yeah,
wow, that must be something interesting in Tao, which I never really thought of.
yeah.
With
I'm thrilled to hear that. Yeah,
yeah,
phenomenal.
interesting. So with Tao, you say you teach people.
Yeah,
So what do you
yeah.
mainly teach them?
So teaching is kind of a misnomer, because uh, 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 it's a very active word, right? No, I don't charge people money. They don't come to my door. They don't sit down, and I don't give them a lesson, right? There's no
Yeah,
money that exchanges hands. There's no form. There's no lessons. Basically, the analogy I would use is, imagine there's a bunch of ripples on a pond, right? There's like a beautiful pond there, right? Bunch of ripples
yes,
on the pond, and they're just everywhere. They're bouncing back and forth. And say I wanted to clear that pond. If I want that pond to go still, I don't take a clothes iron and then scrape the surface, because that'll create more ripples. Or I don't take a ruler and then
yeah,
scrape the surface and try to make it flat. It's not sand, right? It doesn't work like that, right? It would just create more disturbance. So if I
yeah,
actively try to teach someone, and if I actively try to force self-awareness on them, right? Like if I see them acting childish, and I tell them like, hey, that's a pretty childish way to react, right? I'm not saying it's bad.
yeah,
I'm just saying it's childish, right? That would be counterproductive, because then they're going to fight back, right? and I can play that game. That's
Yeah.
some people are too far gone, and that's the only thing I can do. Where I can just be like, "Well, you're proving my point," and and then be like, and then they fight back, and then like, "Well, you're proving my point," and then I can play that game a million times back and forth. But it's not the most effective way. The most effective way
Yes.
is just to love someone, right? And
Yeah.
because I've discovered these tools, I'm always going to be sneaking them in, because that's how I love someone. That's how I express my compassion, by sharing what helped me. It's
Yes.
imagine the analogy of a cup, right? Where like say your cup is running over with something good, something you like,
Yeah.
right?
Overflowing.
Yeah, overflowing, exactly. And it's just going to keep overflowing no matter what. You're satisfied. The fight's over. You can pour
Yeah.
that cup into other people's cups. There's no penalty to it. There's nothing,
Exactly.
but it's just, yeah, it's a concept of like a win-win situation where you win
Yeah.
and they win, and it's just win upon win, right? Most people think we're living a zero-sum game, where they think that like my success comes at your expense. It doesn't work like that. Everyone can win, and
Yes.
the best parts of society is where everyone has won, where people specialize and participate, and we've had to use the profit motive. We've had to use money to incentivize people to do that. But
Yes.
imagine if the incentive was just that, so the other person benefited. It would be a beautiful world, and
Yeah.
we can start by discovering the treasure inside ourselves. And yeah,
Wow.
that's all I got.
In- Interesting. You just ended. We can discover the treasure in ourselves. Wow. I
Yes.
remember last year I wanted to start social media like YouTube video, and I'm the shy person. I felt like I can never I can never make videos. I'm shy and stuff. But then I sat down and asked myself, what are the skills, the things I have now? I was worried about the things I didn't have, the skills I didn't have. I realized I have an unfair advantage. I have lived in China for several years, and I can just share Chinese culture, educate people about Chinese world. And after a year now, that has been so amazing. So indeed, I
Yeah.
can really relate from what you said. We should treasure what is in us instead
Yeah.
of,
And yeah,
yeah,
because nothing needs to change for you to have a phenomenal, happy life. Or maybe something does need to change, but maybe it's something internal. But it's your journey. But everyone's going to have their own path. Everyone's going to say different things about it. But I'm just
yes,
the way that you were able to channel, uh, uh, um, just the way you were able to express your virtue. You discovered something you already
yes,
had, right? You already had Chinese culture. It was already all around you,
yes,
and it's a good
yes,
analogy. I like that a lot. And plus, there's a lot of stuff that sneaks in, right? A lot of stuff that's just phenomenal in Chinese culture, like the emphasis on family. Wow, like filial piety is the term we use for it in America, but
yes,
what a beautiful way to honor your parents. Like, wow, my my mom, who is also involved in the Tao
yes,
Temple, she took care of her parents when they were dying. It took several years for them to die, and it was an awesome experience for both of them, for me too, and
yes,
because we all loved each other. And
yes,
I can't believe that we in America, it is so common to outsource that. Old people, grandparents and stuff, end up in retirement homes where they're
yes,
taken care of by Chinese immigrants, which is actually a really cool thing because, you know,
yes,
uh, uh, yeah, it's just why would you give that up? Why would you,
yeah.
so,
Wow.
yeah.
So yeah, so concerning, you say you are married to your wife is have she's having a Chinese background. What before marrying her? What was your experience like? What really attracted you to her as an American?
Well, yeah, I'm a very open person, and I'll just say up front that I found Chinese women very beautiful. and I think that a lot of people can relate. And that
Yeah.
was that was initially what drew me in, and not the most noble thing, but it ended up in a really cool place. You know,
Wow.
uh,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had a couple previous Chinese girlfriends because I thought they're super super pretty, but that's not the point. I ended up falling in love with the culture way more than just beauty, than just how women look. That's cool, but yeah,
That's nice. I personally, when I was in Ghana before coming to China, I really admire Chinese ladies. I was like, wow, they are so beautiful. When I
yeah,
come to
yeah.
China, I would love to have one as a girlfriend. But trust me, when I started having some friends, I really found it so difficult to even have a relationship with any of them because of the cultural differences.
Yeah.
How were you able to manage the cultural differences?
Yeah. Well, we had to grow together, and it's just for whatever reason, we had some common interests, and
Yeah,
it started very superficial. Like, she liked how I looked, I liked how she looked, and we had to grow together. And
yeah,
it was not easy. I mean, I can think of a million arguments we had over little things, like wearing shoes inside. But I had to give up on that one. But but just everything is an opportunity for growth.
yes.
If you think that there are real deal breakers, like if you're like hitting your girlfriend, right, then that's a deal breaker. But like,
Yeah,
so many people mistake their preferences for like life and death situations. Like,
yeah,
they're not that important. They're in the way of you being happy, right? So there's a
yeah.
lot we had to get over. There's a lot we had to grow through. And her parents, my father and
Yes,
mother-in-law,
yeah.
it took them years and years to get over me, because they in a way, they still don't accept me, but I don't need their
Exactly.
acceptance. Yeah, yeah. And I don't need their
Ex-
acceptance to be happy. Yeah, I'll still honor them. I'll still love them, and I'll do my part. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Interesting. I'm so happy you mentioned that because in China, mostly when foreigners want to marry Chinese ladies, there's this parents not accepting, parents being worried so much about that. So, how were you able to cope in that situation?
This was before I discovered the Tao, so we had our most powerful tool was not available to us yet. But early on, we bonded over something that we didn't have to talk about, which was enjoying nature together. We lived in a very beautiful place, the redwood
Yes.
forests in Santa Cruz, California, a very beautiful place. And we explored nature together, which is kind of like, it's a good analogy for Tao because it's something we all share. And
Yeah.
we found a lot of common ground there, and we just we fell in love with, not necessarily who and what we were, but
Yes.
just we grew together. That's the right word. We grew together, and it's kind of maybe just some people that have tried and failed. It sounds like a fairy tale scenario,
Yeah.
every conflict takes two to tango, right? You have to take full accountability for whatever disturbance or conflict is in your relationship, and that
Yeah.
could be, oh, super super hard. But and especially if your partner doesn't do it, like your partner, it has to
Opposite.
start with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to start with you. Your partner is not going to be letting go first, but once you let go, you
They
can
can
teach him
also
or
let
her.
go.
Yeah, exactly. Because think of it as
Yeah.
like tug of war, right? Two people, you're pulling on a rope, the other person's pulling on a rope. You might have been
Yeah.
taught all your life, all the techniques of how to pull that rope the best you possibly can. Like, you're tying it around your waist, you're
Yeah.
leaning back, you're like shuffling away as hard as you can, right? People get really good at
Yeah.
tugging, right? But imagine if you just let go of the rope, then they're free, I'm free. Then we can just go hang out, you know?
Wow.
We can drink some tea together. It's just a beautiful, beautiful way to live life. I mean,
Wow.
several times in this interview or whatever, this podcast, I've been choking back tears, but you can tell my passion, but I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's
It's,
really an interesting analogy that you feel. Sometimes we really need to let go of certain things. I think letting go can bring peace and harmony. Wow, this is something I've really learned right now. Interesting.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
sorry, go on.
Oh no, you continue. You finish what you wanted to say.
I just wanted to say that even though it makes sense, right? Like to certain people, this makes sense.
Yes.
It's very easy to lose because you'll get stuck in whatever behavior pattern you already have. So it's
Yes.
important to just try to remember. Like there's like people have mantras to try to remember. Some people like we have like a hand seal that we keep secret, right, in our temple, right? It's a little personal reminder. That's all it is, and it's just to remind us that there's another way out,
Yeah.
and what does the way out look like? When you're disturbed, when you're suffering, you stand back from it. You literally relax. You like let your
Yeah.
shoulders relax. You take a deep breath. You just calm down. You know, do you have the bravery? Do you have the strength to do that? Like really, like test yourself.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so yeah,
Yeah.
take it away.
Wow. That's so cool to hear. Have you ever thought of traveling to China? The way you are in love with
Yeah,
this Chinese culture and everything, have you ever thought or imagined one day you'll be in China?
I would absolutely, I would adore the opportunity to go to China. I think I would be a less effective teacher over there because the language barrier. But if I had a partner in crime, that'd be cool. But I just uh, I've had opportunities before. I had an opportunity to go to Taiwan before, but
Yeah.
I just let it slip through my fingers, because I'm very active in my own community.
Yeah.
There's a saying that I heard, which I found I got a lot out of, right, where I have to tend to the part of the garden that I can reach, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a garden right here, you know,
Yes.
and, and, uh, and I'm here to work on it, right? And
Yeah.
because I'm all in, right? Like I do this full time. Uh, I would want it to be a teaching trip, but whatever. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I would love to like. There's several provinces that I know people from, like Sichuan sounds amazing. Yunnan sounds
Sichuan. Yeah.
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, tons of and I love Chinese culture. I mean, this might sound kind of superficial, but I was really into kung fu movies back in the day.
Yeah.
There's this one movie called it's by a director called Stephen Chow. I believe he's like Chinese American. It's called
Yes.
Journey to the West, and it's like a Journey to the West conquering demons or whatever. It's like this
Yeah.
goofy kung fu adaptation of the Journey to the West story, which is about a Buddhist monk, traveling somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot about Tao, right? Because Buddhism and Tao actually have a lot in common. My understanding is is when Buddhism entered China, the
Yes.
word Dharma, Dharma is a central concept to Buddhism. It was translated as Tao in Chinese. So like
Yes.
they're like interchangeable concepts, So I just because I don't come from that culture, I don't draw lines between these disciplines, right? Like
Yes.
I borrow from yoga, I borrow from Zen a whole bunch. Um, it's
Different
all good,
cultures. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I started with Tao because the temple was labeled Tao. But
Wow.
like we were getting into, labels are not the most important thing. Like there's symbolism and then there's essence, and the symbolism just mimics the essence, So
Wow. You have come to love different cultures so much.
yeah,
What can you really say about other cultures trying to prove that they are superior than other cultures and such? What do you have to say about these?
I think that they are stuck in probably a nationalistic level of thinking about it. You can think about human development, right? Where
Yeah,
maybe when you're a child, all you care about is yourself. You're very selfish, right? But once you
yeah,
grow up, you recognize like, oh, I love my family too. So you extend love beyond yourself to your family,
yes,
and then your family helps you develop, helps you grow, and then the family is interacting with a larger community, and you can go from loving your family to loving your community, which would kind of be like the tribal stage, right, where you love your tribe, right?
yeah,
Awesome, love your tribe, right? But then you can extend your love beyond your tribe to your nation, which is that's a whole lot of people you end up loving, right? If you love
yeah.
all Chinese people, that's like how many people are in China? Over a billion, right?
Well,
That's a whole
yeah,
lot of people to love. Yeah.
yeah,
So, but you can extend it one step further, further beyond your nation, and extend love to the entire world, right? We're all human. And
yes.
I know it's going to be really hard to do that because everyone else is thinking nationalistically. Americans are so guilty of that. We're the worst offenders. We are so nationalistic. And it's going to be really hard for you to let go and love us while we're doing that, you know? So, and vice versa, right? We're going to have a hard time if you're doing that, right? So,
Yeah,
and like I was saying, relationship wise, who's going to let go first? You know, who's going to let go of the tug of war?
you.
So,
Oh, interesting. So we
yeah.
need someone to let go. Wow.
Yeah, and maybe it's going to be the people that have the 2,000-year-old tradition of of learning about this stuff, you know. But
Yeah,
there's a this is a Gandhi quote. He I don't know if it's real, but someone supposedly asked Gandhi, "What do you think of Western civilization?" And his
yeah.
response was, "I think it would be a good idea," implying that we're not civilized. you know.
It will be a good idea. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was such a super funny joke. I don't know if it's true, but
Yeah,
it's just we're not very civilized around here. Like I said, I saw people shooting at each other. I don't think no one died, but they were shooting at each other. Hitting cars and
yeah.
stuff.
Wow. Interesting. To our viewers who are watching live, I've learned so much about Tao today and about how to live in peace and harmony in this life. And our special guest is Ben. He is in the US. I can't believe he has never been in China, but he knows so much. I have been in China for 6 years, but I'm learning most of the things from him now. Wow, interesting.
Yeah. Well, your openness is very impressive. Uh, uh, there's a chapter in the Tao that says that when someone hears about the Tao, there's
Yeah,
three possible reactions. Either if you're a good student,
yes,
you accept the Tao and you try to put it into practice. Sincerely try to put it into practice. It's difficult, but with sincere practice, you can get really far. And then
yeah,
there's the normal student. The normal student is someone who accepts the Tao and practices it sometimes, and then not other times. Right? They think they know better
yeah,
than these principles. Right? So they try to apply it in some areas and then not in others. Right? And then
yeah,
there's the other reaction, which is the most common one that I found, where people laugh at it. Right? And they openly laugh at it.
yeah,
And if because they are stuck doing the opposite of these principles, them laughing is actually proof that it's the true Tao. Like, if it wasn't
yeah.
true wisdom, a fool wouldn't laugh, right? And like fool is a very mean word, right? And calling myself wise means like sounds like I'm calling myself better, right? But
Yeah.
what's the wisdom I'm teaching here? What's the principle which we're trying to apply? Is being maximally humble, like always let go, always bend, right? Never defend yourself,
Be
right? It's the
strong,
opposite of
rigid.
all. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the opposite of what everyone thinks I'm saying when I'm saying that. Like I don't call myself wise, but
yeah,
people call the Tao wise, and I teach the Tao, right? But it's the opposite of what people think. They think that I'm trying to be better than them. They use the term holier than thou, which
oh
is
yeah,
I've met a lot of holier than thou people, but and that's why I teach the style I do, is because I don't want someone to, you know, walk away and me ruin their chance at understanding Tao. That would be really, I would be doing a really bad job if I came off as
Yes,
holier than thou. So let me just say that anyone watching, including yourself, if you have any corrections for me or
yes,
any insights, please tell me. You'd be doing me such a huge favor. I would love to be wrong, and
yeah,
because like how do you become more right? By finding out you're wrong.
learn,
It's a gift. It's,
yeah,
it's like finding a treasure. Finding out you're wrong is like finding a treasure. Uh, uh,
yeah.
um, yeah, and
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, I personally, I have never loved Chinese culture until I came to China,
Hmm.
having that experience, feeling them. And you have had contact with Chinese and you are even married to one of them. So, but I feel like there's still difference. Like coming to meet Chinese people, having the real feel and everything. But I'm so impressed by the passion and the interest that you have, even though you have never come to China before, you have never met them, but you know so much. And I'm really, really impressed. And I'm so happy you are there to teach about harmony and peace, living in a world where we can have harmony and peace. And this is what we all have to preach and we all have to always talk about. Love one another irrespective of skin color, location, nationality, and everything. And this is what you are doing. You are doing
Hmm.
God's work and you are doing the best. And you are the kind we need in our society. I don't want to take much of your time. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Before we even leave, I would love you to visit one day. Just try to visit China one day, and anytime you come, just let me know. I'll take you around to several cities, and you will really enjoy it because I feel like you
Yeah,
really have to do that one day.
yeah. Thank you. I recognize your sincerity, and I'm very touched that you would offer that. Thank you. And I would just like to say that, I'll never have the full Chinese experience. I'm not Chinese, right? But I can love them anyway. They're still my brothers, they're still my sisters, and I still
Yeah,
just absolutely adore Chinese people. You know, and maybe one day I'll learn as much as I can about Africa, another amazing place, another amazing place.
yeah,
So
wow,
I started with China first, though.
yeah,
But
interesting. Yeah. Before you
yeah,
even before we even leave, what are some of the Chinese words you can say? What Chinese words can you say?
oh, Bing Shui. That means
Oh,
ice water, I believe. Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
Bu Hao. Mao, which I think means cat. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
and
Mao, Mao.
Da and Shao, right? Big and small, right?
Yeah,
And
da, Dao.
Da. Thank you. Yeah. And
Yeah,
obviously, I know Dao means way, right? And
yeah,
what else? I means love. Um,
yeah.
uh, I don't use it very often, but I do.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
That is so
yeah.
amazing. That is so amazing.
More
Do
than
you
an
know that
American. Yeah,
we have several people who have lived in China for 10, 20 years and they cannot speak Chinese? So
yeah,
this is so amazing. This is so, so,
yeah.
so amazing. And I'm really, really impressed. And thank you very much for honoring this invite. I think we'll stay in touch. And in the future, we would so like to hear more of you, have you on this platform to share life
Thank you.
experience.
Anytime. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
anytime. Yeah, and yeah. I talked a lot, but in my personal life, I'm a man of few words. So yeah, just thank you for having me. It's just yeah, and please keep in touch, literally anytime. And you've inspired me to learn some Chinese. I'm gonna actually put some effort into it. Thank you. Yeah,
wow. Thank you. I'm sure
yeah.
some of our viewers, maybe in the US, would like to contact you or something. Where can they reach you in case of anything?
I'm actually not sure the best way to do this, but
Yeah,
because if I give out my email publicly, it's
yeah,
probably
yeah,
wouldn't work out well.
yeah.
But I don't have any social media presence or anything like that. But I
Yeah.
will leave a comment in the
We-
it, yeah, in the video of this video,
yeah,
and we can go from there. And
sure.
yeah, and I teach Dev full time. You'd be doing me a huge favor. I love doing it. If
Yeah,
anyone wants a little bit more one-on-one talk or sales pitch or anything like that, right?
yeah.
But nothing for sale. I don't. No money ever changes hands. But but yeah. Oh, we did an hour right on. Hour on the dot. I'm gonna let you go.
Wow, right. Sure. I think one idea, suggestion I'll give you is probably you should have one social media platform, whether YouTube, Facebook, where you just teach for free as you do. And I think a lot of people needs that. We need that. We need people who can teach us how
Okay.
to let go. As I told you, had it not been me reading that book, I would have still been in prison with fear, pain, you know. So I think if you do that, you will be saving so many lives, Ben.
Thank you. That's very inspiring. And YouTube seems to be the best platform for it since, we met under that context. And
Yes.
yeah, yeah, I'll, in the comments, they'll see my YouTube channel. We maybe get started there. But right now,
Yeah.
my channel's called Hail Dynamics. But, maybe I'll change the name. But because, I made that channel before I discovered DAO. So,
Oh
there
yeah.
might be some goofy stuff on there. So prepare for the goofy stuff, guys. Anyway, yeah. Anywho, I think I got to make dinner, so I'll let you
Sure,
go.
sure, sure, sure. All right. So thank you very much for honoring our invite, and to our viewers, stay tuned. This is the only live podcast based in China, and every week we try to bring people who are connected with China. Until then, see you and thank you, our special guest, for honoring our invite. Bye bye, Zhejiang.